Hey, everybody in internet land. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Today, I am going to be discussing evidence-based practices or EBPs for those in the know and my impressions of them. Wait for it. In the Iris module, I recognized multiple EBPs, all of them really, that I have used in the past, including just off the top of my head, exercise, extinction, and antecedent-based interventions. I've often used exercise as a means of lessening anxiety and frustration while pulling focus for my students. I'll have my students do a few push-ups, sit-ups, or just walk about the room a short while while getting their heart rate up and relaxing their bodies. This works for me as well. At times when I'm stressed, I've got a rowing machine, and every now and again I even use it. This is especially helpful during state testing time, not so much the rowing machine, but I'm doing with them, or during a non-preferred activity they're about to do and that they believe they're not going to like it. I've used extinction EBPs in the past. Oh, and back to the exercise. It's not just exercise of the body. I also use exercise of the mind. Sometimes I'll throw little puzzles together for them to solve, actual little puzzles they can manipulate, play little games that sort of have to do with the assignment. You know, we'll do sight words, I'll hide cards and have them take the cards out, work as a memory game and make matches and things like that. And it's a good exercise for them and gets them more in the mood to do other things, you know, elevating their mood to de-escalate certain things before they even arise. As for extinction EBPs, I've used in the past as helping to modify the student's environment by removing certain items and visuals, which I've observed in the past to be a distraction for them, or to have a positive effect once brought back in order to help curb certain undesired behaviors. One student, autistic student I just loved working with, he liked to help me adjust the calendar each day at school. You know, it's Tuesday, or now it's Wednesday, or now it's the 30th, now it's the 31st, or whatever. And he was really, really into that. I don't know why, he just was. It was the order of it, I suppose. Though as time wore on, the mere presence of the calendar itself proved a distraction. He just got so used to it being there and being able to having access to it all the time. He began behaving in ways that he wasn't really before, as though there were no consequences, because all he seemed to want was the calendar. He already had it, so he didn't have to behave himself, and that seemed to be what was going on. That was the prevailing theory. So it was removed. I removed the calendar and used it as a positive reinforcer, something for the student to earn by minimizing his distracting behaviors and earning back the class calendar. And that really worked after a while. I've used antecedent-based interventions, often working in combination with an extinction EBP, as also mentioned in the module, by anticipating certain behavioral triggers in my students and making adjustments prior to their next appearance, similar to the removal of the calendar at the beginning of the day so as to avoid any behavioral outbursts. Oftentimes, the addition of something rather than its removal can be key to a successful academic setting. For example, I would add a poster to the room the students love to look at. Who doesn't love Buzz Lightyear? Or I would play soft music at certain times during the day, which usually had a calming effect, as opposed to not having it at all during those times. So you just sort of have to think about what will work, what will not work based on observations. But I've also used multiple other EBPs fitting into various categories over the years, which I've found to be especially helpful. Structured play groups, visual supports, and various self-management exercises, to name but just a few. To be honest, I don't recall an EBP mentioned that I have not at least heard of in my almost 2 decades of working with autistic students to one extent or another. Though I suppose I don't have all their names memorized, but they can all be very useful in their own way and in their own time. Regarding page 8, the faces of autism, what resonated with me was the tablet for picture communication that student Tyler used with his parent in order to help him communicate his wants and needs. When the parent stated that routine was not always Tyler's thing, that stuck out to me as routine and hyperfixation upon is the chief characteristic of autistic students. It made sense to me, though, that when Tyler pushes buttons on his iPad, he is asking for what he wants in that moment, and it's not always part of a routine. He's merely expressing his feelings and interests in that moment like we all do. it was uplifting to hear the parent talk about how far they've come together, that they're learning new words together, that Tyler is able to have more words in communication than he had before, and just what a joy Tyler is in her life. That was just very inspiring to me. That no matter how difficult things can become, there's always hope. There's always a way to push through. And just this simple inclusion of a tablet for picture access and clicking on certain words and having read to you and read to other people to communicate what that student needs is just wonderful. It opens so many doors. Anyway, that's it for me tonight. Everyone stay safe out there, and I will see you next time for another edition of Internet Land Video Journaling. Bye, everybody.